The world has become increasingly dependent on communications, and mobile communications in particular. 20 years ago when I went to uni, I think there was 2 of us in the entire class of 120 that had a mobile phone. If you look around on the streets in almost any affluent country, almost everyone that you see under the age of 30 will be carrying a mobile phone of some sort. And actually over the last 10 years now, just about everyone over the age of 30 is carrying a mobile phone as well. And there's a whole lot of reasons for this. Mobile communications lets us stay more connected. It lets us carry out our business better. Really, it makes life better in a whole pile of ways. Of course, like other things, it's not always entirely good. But overall, we would have to say that mobile communications helps the world and helps people to do what they need to do. And there's a danger in this. We've come to assume that mobile communications will always be there, that it will always work. Well, at least for those of us in affluent countries, because we know that in many parts of the world that this isn't the case. But as a recent trip to New Zealand reminded me, this isn't actually the case even here in affluent countries, that we need to think about ways to make communications more reliable. Because we're staying with some friends and they live just out of Wellington, the capital of New Zealand, in a beautiful green valley, just a nice commute out of Wellington. And they were telling us about a few years ago that there was a lot of rain one summer and the river was just a little stream when we were there, but this turned into a river with these floods, and it actually completely flooded away the bridge that is the only way in and out of their valley. Turns out it's not the only way in and out for cars and for people, but also it's how the electricity and telecommunications gets into that valley. Because in fact, there's no mobile phone coverage in that valley because of the hills. And it was 5 days before the bridge was repaired. And in the meantime, this family who normally, they could go to the shops, they could ring their neighbours if they wanted to borrow something, suddenly found that everything in life was actually a whole lot harder to do. Instead of just picking a phone up and making a call, and in a couple of minutes you might find out which of your neighbours has something you need. Suddenly they were needing a lot more things from their neighbours, and their neighbours were needing a lot more things from them, and it was taking maybe half an hour or an hour to do something that should have taken a moment. And this same thing plays out around the world in so many thousands, if not millions of ways each day. Whether it's subsistence farmers needing to check market prices, and it might take them half a day to walk into the town to find out what the price is, when it would be a whole lot better if they could just ring up the nearest 2 or 3 markets and go, oh, okay, that one's already got a whole pile of wheat, the price is low, I'll sell it in this other market where there isn't much and I can get a better price and help the people in that area. And so there is this digital divide. And in some cases it's a physical divide, like the gap between the bridge. And it doesn't matter whether it's 20 metres, it doesn't matter whether it's 2,000 kilometres. It affects the lives of people every day. And when I realised this, and with my background in software programming and communications, I realised not only that something should be done, but actually that something could be done. That we could write better software for smartphones so that they can talk directly to each other and form what's called a mesh network. So that instead of the phones having to be in range of a mobile phone tower, they just need to be in range of another mobile phone. And a bit like a dot to dot, you can draw your way around and you can complete the picture. You can bridge those gaps, and things that would otherwise be impossible or very difficult to do can suddenly be so much easier for people to do and can help people's lives and make the difference between not merely poverty and wealth, but actually sickness and health, and in fact life and death. And so for me, going to work each day is incredibly rewarding as I work in my own small way to bridge the digital divide and to bridge these gaps. And it's also incredibly intellectually stimulating. The technology we work with is really interesting to work with, and it's incredibly satisfying as well, just when we can make these phones that really only want to talk to phone towers suddenly able to talk to each other. And we can go into caves and do all sorts of interesting things and communicate in interesting places where it otherwise wasn't possible. With that dream of helping many millions of people around the world to enjoy those benefits.